Welcome back to Curious Now from the Center for Medical Simulation. I'm Jenny Rudolph, the Director of Innovation at the center, and I'm a social scientist interested in all the crazy things we think and feel that propel us to do good things interacting with the other humans and the not so good things interacting with the other humans. Today, we're going to continue our series on psychological safety and how do you manage that internally for yourself. Last week, we focused on what does it feel like to feel psychologically unsafe internally, and what is the threat rigidity effect that can cause. And this week, we're going to pivot to how do you recover yourself? How do you get better when you're feeling stuck? And our readiness goal for this week is precisely that. When you're feeling psychologically unsafe, how do you recover yourself? How do you flip yourself back into feeling some psychological safety? So I'm pretty thrilled this week to have someone who's a huge expert on this subject in an indirect way, and that is the speed climber and big wall climber, Hans Florine. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks. Great to be on here.
So Hans is well known in the climbing community, but perhaps not as well known in the healthcare leadership community. Hans is known for the hundreds of ascents that he's done on El Capitan, often climbing that face, including the nose, in a couple of hours and change, whereas most of us humans would take 3 days to do it. What I think is going to be really great about having Hans on is he has to work in environments where if he does feel psychologically unsafe, there's not a lot of time usually and not a lot of margin to faff around. He has to kind of figure out how to recover himself relatively quickly with pretty high consequences. Hans is also a dad. He's an author of 3 books, and he works on helping other people do hard things. So, Hans, maybe you can tell us a little more about the things I'm missing about you.
Oh, I'm so glad that you mentioned I'm a dad. I'm also a member of a modern family, 5 kids. I have 2 grandkids, so a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old granddaughters. So I think that's important to kind of maybe make a picture of me at my current place in life. That I have responsibilities beyond just t-shirt and shorts out climbing vertical granite, which I still dearly love and somehow I'm still passionate about. Um, you mentioned something about the doing hard things. I started a community when I was managing a rock climbing health club 16 years ago, and we made challenges for the year, a list of challenges that at first were, maybe run a marathon, maybe do a pull up, do a push up from your knees so people could get started. And then people said, well, what's really hard is breaking up with your girlfriend or something else. And so we added things like serve 2 hours at a soup kitchen or handwrite a letter to somebody. Nobody does that anymore. Or get 6 new names at the grocery store of people that you did never get their names from, So we made a list of doing hard things or trying new things that people did for the year. And I've now continued that for 16 years. It's one of the things I really like doing.
So, Hans, I'd love to build on the try new things moniker that you've come up with. And one of the things that I think is really important about building psychological safety internally for ourselves, for our teams, and trying to develop that as a culture within our organizations is that I think psychological safety is the thing that lets us try new things, that lets us work at the edge of our expertise where we might make mistakes, and is a space where we can tap into creativity and connection, things that we really need often when
Right.
things get hard.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
So, on that note, Hans, what I'd love to do is kind of have you um, help us think about those moments of psychological unsafety, what they are like, what they have been like for you potentially as a big wall climber or as a speed climber, um, how you've detected that you're kind of getting off your usual game, and then how you recover yourself. And so I'd love to hear a story of like a time when you really got kind of stuck or off.
I only have to do one story. I have so many.
No, 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 please, as many as like.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm cautious which the best, kind of jump out at me examples. I broke my legs on this 3,000-foot wall of El Capitan, two-thirds of the way up. So I'm 2,000 feet off the ground, and I fell and hit a ledge and broke my left tib fib and my right heel. And I was with a partner at the time. Somewhere this was a kind of a casual stroll for me. We were going to climb the route in a day, maybe 12 or 14 hours, and we were 7 or 8 hours into it, and all of a sudden our day and my day was not just placing the next piece of gear in the cracks and arriving at an anchor and having my partner come up. It was, I need to call 911. Unfortunately, there was cell service. I need to call 911 and now deal with rescuing myself off of this crazy wild place, right? Like, how long do you go from I thought I was going to be eating dinner at home tonight and calling my kids about, I don't know, what we were going to do the next day, to I'm now in a completely different world. I'm trying to evacuate myself, and I can't walk, and I'm in tons of pain. And I already know, because I know enough about something, that it's going to be a long time before there's a rescue person there that's going to be able to knock me out with morphine or whatever. And so I've got a lot of stuff to do, even though I'm going to rely on my partner a lot. And um,
Hans, if I can jump in there and just name two things. One is, I have to say, my heart really aches hearing this. It's like, wow, I can just only imagine the intensity, the pain, the everything. But the second piece is your reference to the idea of self rescue. And I think that's really the theme of this episode, which is when you're in that situation, what can you do to self rescue? What do you rely on others for? And so, love to hear from you. How did you go about that self rescue?
so my partner, his name was Abe. He was actually out of sight, working on following up what we call a pitch. There's different rope length pitches along the route, and he was cleaning underneath around the corner of a roof, so he didn't see what happened. And why I'm explaining that is because I was hanging there for maybe 5, 10 minutes before he came around the corner and can see me. And so I was able to push myself and sit on the ledge without my legs being in pain. I'm sure it was just, shock mass things, so I couldn't feel them anymore. But I had my phone on me, and I'm like, well, what can I do? I can call. So I got on the phone and called, and he came around the corner and going, and he looked at me and goes, who are you talking to on the phone? Because I was in the middle of leading. There's this thing where I'm self belaying and climbing myself, safetying myself while he was cleaning the last pitch. So there's no reason in the world I should have been on the phone, right? I'm up there climbing this next pitch, and he like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm talking to the Rangers, because 911 will automatically shift me to the park ranger rescue queue. And he goes, why are you talking to them? And I'm like, well, I think I broke both my legs, and I'm sure it was much more calmer than it maybe should have been. But at that point, like, I just am going to do what I can do, and that's an important phrase I think a lot of folks talk about in crisis management as well. You stop, think. And I am not an emergency medical person, or I haven't been on a lot of rescue teams or anything, or search and rescue, but I just know it from being around those people, I guess, is like, stop, breathe, and like, what can I do? Well, I can't walk, I can't climb, but I can call on the phone and talk to these guys and tell them what happened. And so I did, and because I am a celebrity in the climbing world, they knew who I was, and they were not laughing, but like, really, Hans, we're gonna come and rescue you. Um, and so they started the process and went down the vitals with me. Are you bleeding? Is your heart rate okay? And these things. And to that point, I couldn't I couldn't really lower myself because you need your hands to lower, and I couldn't have my legs banging against the wall. So I set things up, or my partner and I set things up so he could lower me and I could hold myself away from the wall as I lowered down to where he was. Again, what can I do? I can push myself against the wall with my hands, but I can't put my feet against the wall. And I gave everything I could to my partner to do. Then when we talked to the rescue team, they said, you need to lower to this ledge here because we can't get you from the helicopter from where you're at. And then it turns out later it's too windy, so they couldn't get me with the helicopter at all. Um, but while my partner Abe was arranging and organizing ropes to rappel, I got on the phone and I said, "Hey, Abe, I can't help you because if I use my hands to help with the rope, then my leg bangs against the wall and it goes from a pain of 4 to 10. So I can't. And so I'm going to just not help with the ropes." And the next thing he knows, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm making a social media post because I can't do anything else. So I'll do a post of you coiling the ropes." And and he's just like, the expression on his face is just so, he's just like, "What the heck are you doing, Hans?" But, it's a calming thing. I did what I could.
Yeah.
I, you know, as a weird reference, like my social media gets maybe like, at that time, 100 views for a video, maybe 100 if it was lucky. It got something like 50,000 views because here there was this person talking about their legs broken in the middle of El Cap. It was outrageous. And I didn't think that anything about that. I don't make money off of my social media or anything, so it didn't matter to me. But I just was doing something that calmed me, that I could do
Hmm.
to make some sort of normalcy to what was not normal.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking that a couple things, when you're physically injured, you may be going into shock. Your body is reacting in ways that you can't control, whether it's your heart rate going up or your hands sweating. And next to that, as we think about the psychological aspects of it, you know, I think often we think when you feel psychologically unsafe, you'd like to go to feeling totally psychologically safe. And I think what your story is highlighting here is it's more about stabilization. So you're going from kind of a disorganized state, fearful state. You didn't name fear, but us normal humans might have felt that, um, to a stabilized state of doing what you can do. You got on the phone and you called the Rangers, doing what you can do, the social media post, and creating some momentum or normalcy through these actions. Um, how else do you think about that, in terms of moving yourself forward in those difficult situations?
I guess in that particular situation, one could think, oh my gosh, it's going to be hours or days before a rescuer can get to me. I'm going to feel pain. And it might start raining. It might, you can think out through scenarios, but I think I stayed in the present and didn't think 10 minutes ahead or an hour ahead or a day ahead. I just thought about what's the best use of our actions right now. And we coordinated with some climbers that were a few 100 feet below us to help. What my partner lowered me down to them and things, like we just took care of the moment. Really, we didn't. I wouldn't say I didn't think of a positive outcome like, oh, I'm going to be in the hospital in Fresno in a nice bed and with morphine and stuff 2 days from. I didn't think of the positive possible outcome, but I didn't think of the negative possible. I just thought of what can I do right now because I am right now. And I didn't go past that because that is overwhelming. I mean, I'm thinking of because I have family members that are doctors in the army and they've been in triage things in Middle East, and like if you look outside and see the row of soldiers coming in, like it could be overwhelming, but you have to take care of. And I don't want to get into your field, but I just for me, I was like, I can best serve myself by being in the present rather than thinking out too many scenarios on out. With the caveat that I don't want to do anything in the present that jeopardizes a positive outcome later, you know.
I'm a little torn, Hans, because this is like such a serious situation. And, I know you're sitting here now with repaired um, legs and perhaps you have some steel in your heel or something like that. Or,
Both
um,
legs have lots of architecture in there. Yeah, parts. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't want to callously move on from this poignant story. And at the same time, I am keen to kind of bridge from that experience to your work um, with TNT,
Yeah.
Try New Things, and Dynamite.
Yeah.
Um, and
I'm keen to do it too.
okay, great.
I'm itching
So,
to.
so for our listeners and me, I'm not a big wall climber, but I often get into tough conversations or a situation where I feel really judged or I feel perhaps ashamed of myself or something where like I'm kind of flooded with emotions, like not flooded with pain as you might have been, but I have to recover myself somehow. I have to kind of return myself to some kind of stabilized feeling of psychological safety so I can take the next step. Um, and what I think is a parallel between your experience of falling, a couple thousand feet up on El Cap and these everyday awkward moments or scary moments or shameful moments is this idea of recovering access to ourselves. You did what you could on that ledge. I might have to do what I can to uh, function in a difficult meeting or function in a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
And you surprised me earlier by saying that trying new things is a kind of dynamite that can create psychological safety. And I'd love to hear more about that because I think there's an unexpected process there because I think we generally think of stabilization as not adding complexity and not trying new things. And so
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
Well, doing hard things and trying new things is hard. I'll say that the number one fear when you ask people on the list, it is public speaking is one way up there, right? Fear of heights, maybe, but I do public speaking because I love it. I love talking to people, and there is anxiety and butterflies in my stomach when I get on stage. And another one thing people have, and I'm using this because I think it's a great way for trying new things, is getting people's names. You should never ever tell yourself, I'm not good at names. I'm good at faces or whatever. Always just tell yourself, I'm getting better at names. And what I'm leading to here is one of our challenges is get 260 new names this year because it's 2026. By new, it doesn't have to be Xandier or some exotic name. You could have three new Johns that you meet. They can all be John or Susan. So customer service people are, it's their job to be friendly to you. So like I always get names at the grocery store. I say, hey, and by the way, when you ask customer service people like coffee shop servers and grocery people, make sure you give them your name first because when you ask a customer service person their name, they think, what, are you going to report me to my supervisor? So I always, and I've done that a number of times, and this is that thing where you feel off because I have gotten a little bit gregarious and I'm like, hey, what's your name? And I realize like the the person is like, well, why do you want to know my name? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to reset. Like I'm coming from this fun, gregarious thing, and you're at work right now, and I just frightened you because maybe they just had a bad interaction with somebody and they're concerned I'm going to report them to their supervisor. So reset. Sorry, my name's Hans. I just was trying to, I'm in this goofy challenge where I need to learn people's new names, you know? And I would tell people if you are uh, hard at breaking the ice with strangers or getting people's names, customer service people are great. And I'm using that general term, but like people serving you coffee at the coffee shop, people bagging your groceries, people checking you out at the clerk and the airport, whatever, you can ask them. And it's a very soft way to try something new is get a stranger's name, right?
Hmm.
Like, hi,
Yeah.
I'm Hans. What's your name? And then it doesn't have to end there. I always say, well, I really appreciate you being here. And they're like, well, this is my job. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you showing up for work and being here to bag my groceries or whatever it is, or serve me coffee because, you can't assume these things. And all
Yeah.
this is to just say I'll call it an easy environment to try something new. And that is public speaking. You're talking to somebody that's new. So I got public speaking in there and then I got, names, right? Those are
Yeah.
often hard things for people to learn and to be willing to do. And it is you're
Yeah.
talking to a stranger, right? Um,
Yeah. And so, Hans, I want to highlight another thing that was hard in there and and invisible until you got called on it, which
yeah,
is disclosing your intentions. And so I
right.
think one of the things that is really often derails psychological safety in interpersonal interactions is I know my intentions are good. My heart is pure. I'm in this cool challenge. I
Oh
ask you
man,
your name, and it lands on you as this like threat.
right.
Um, and so I think one of the ways often to bring psychological safety into a situation is to share our intentions. Like, as you said, like, hey, I'm part of this goofy challenge. I'm trying to learn 10 new names or whatever. All of a sudden, your request for their name is psychologically safe for them by
Mm-hmm.
you having shared your intention.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I work on a lot within the healthcare communication space and conflict management space is often making the invisible visible. Uh, why am I asking you? What is the topic? Where are we going? And often that has a really big impact on down regulating other people's suspicion. So for our workout of the week this week, we're going to build on Hans's experience of being injured on a ledge in the middle of El Capitan, and he recovered himself by doing what he could in the moment. And so our workout of the week is in a moment where you feel stuck, off, flooded, frightened, frozen,
overwhelmed.
act overwhelmed. Great. Act as if things later are going to play out no matter what, and do the one thing you can do right then to stabilize yourself. Our workout of the week is when you feel stuck, flooded, overwhelmed, frozen, scared, act as if the one thing you can do right now is enough.
Excellent. Here. I agree with that.
Curious Now is produced at the Center for Medical Simulation by James Lipshaw. If you'd like to know more about how to build your leadership skills, please come to our website at www.harvardmedsim.org. And Hans, we'd love to hear what's up for you next or anything you'd like to share with us.
Well, I'm holding my book up for those that are watching. This book marks my 100th ascent of the nose route, which follows the sun shadow south buttress of El Capitan. And I want to say, Jenny said that most people would take 2 or 3 days to climb the route. And the fact is that I have failed to climb this route 14 times. So most people actually come to the base of El Cap and don't make it to the top. There's not even an average time because it's infinite. Most people fail. And I'm pointing that out not to brag about how fast I've done it, but to say that um, I've learned or failed to climb it, and I've learned through those failures to be the person who's climbed the route more than anyone else. Um, and what more you asked what's on the horizon for me? I'm gonna shoot for climbing all of El Cap 200 times, and more importantly, I'm shooting to climb with 150 different people before I retire from climbing, because that's where the fun is the stories of sharing that adventure with other people. Yeah, the unknown, because we don't know if we'll make it up. Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah,
James, I'm just going to share this one thing in case we want to use it as an outtake. So, one of Hans's influences on me, aside from being his just inspiring self, is he was climbing on El Cap once, I believe, with my sister, Amelia Rudolph.
yeah,
And he was leading, Amelia was climbing behind him, and she caught up with him at one point at a ledge where they were going to plan their next pitch. And she was like, "Oh, I'm really hungry and I'm really thirsty." And at least as Amelia reports the story, Hans was like, "What? It's too late. You can never let yourself get hungry or thirsty. You have to drink way before you're thirsty and eat way before you're hungry, because now it's going to take you half an hour, 45 minutes to recover, and you're not going to be any good to yourself or anybody else." I don't know if you actually said those things, Hans, but Amelia has shared that with all of her hiking buddies, including me. And so like I now am much more cautious about like not getting hungry and not getting thirsty.
yeah. Yeah, if you wait until you're thirsty, it's too late, right? Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that didn't sound like a very nice response I gave her. Tough love.